What's up, guys? This is Charlie with Hot Tips and with Pryor Media, here with another WordPress video for you. Today we're going to be taking a look again at the X WordPress theme, and today's video is going to be like a frequently answered questions video. I get so many people contacting me, and first off, thank you for contacting me and thank you for talking to me and being interested in my videos. It's really great. You guys have given me so much work to do that I haven't been able to make any video that I want to make, which I'm not complaining. I like the work, so thanks for that. But today I want to go over some of the frequently asked questions so that I can sort of just send this video out to everyone who asks these questions and say, look at these, and then you guys kind of know it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is with the X WordPress theme. So if you're not using X, most of this stuff some of the stuff will still be useful to you, but not everything will be useful to you. And if you'd like to give X a shot after seeing it, you can click the annotation in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and that will bring you to where you can purchase it if you'd like. Okay, so, and full disclosure, because I have had some people mention this or ask this to me, I am not in any way, shape, or form endorsed, sponsored by, promoted, affiliated with in any way theme.co, the developers of this theme. So they're not like commissioning me to say anything. I'm completely independent. Okay, cool. All right. So today's video, we're going to start things off. I have a little bit of a list here that we're going to talk about here. And today is going to basically be a frequently answered questions video. Some of them are super simple, and it's things that probably most people should already know. But surprisingly, especially if you're new, you probably don't know them, and that's totally fine. And then we're going to get into something that's a little slightly harder. We're not going to do anything advanced today, but we're going to get to some things that are slightly harder. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover installation of the theme, which is a pretty basic thing. Normally people upload it to WordPress through their admin dashboard, and that's pretty common. I think that's probably the way most people do it. So today we're going to look at how to do it with FTP. File transfer protocol used to be, I thought, the standard in how you do things. And anyone who does websites for any like profession will probably be using FTP much more than they're using any type of web interface. At least I would hope so. Because this is apparently something a lot of people don't know, so that's why I'm going to cover it. We're also going to be looking at updating the theme and the plugins in this way as well. Then we're going to get rid of comments on pages. So a lot of times people, when we create pages, those pages have comments on them. And so super simple thing, but you can't quite figure out why that leave a reply thing is at the bottom of your page. How do I get that to go away? We're going to get that to go away for you today. Then we're going to take a look and venture into some of the automatically generated pages that come with WordPress, such as your blog page, your blog roll, category archive pages, etc. And we're going to look at how we can change the headlines on those when we're using X. And then we're going to get into Visual Composer. And the most asked about section of X and of my consultation plan that I offer and the people who ask me for help and training is always Visual Composer based. It almost always has something to do with Visual Composer. So I'm going to go over just I want to go over more in the future. So in the future videos, I want to go over more. But for today, we're going to take a look at some of the stuff that is just specific to X, because Visual Composer is a plugin that comes with X. It is not developed by the same developers that develop the theme. So it's kind of a third-party plugin, and it's sort of used in a lot of sites that's not X-related. So today, I'm going to take a look, since this is a X FAQ, if you will, FAQ. We're going to take a look at X-specific functions, such as visibility containers, creating responsive text, and for the grand finale, we're going to make the ever-evasive 5-column layout with Visual Composer. And we're gonna cheat a little bit. It's not really kind of using Visual Composer completely, but if you've ever wanted a 5-column layout and you've tried to do it in Visual Composer, you know that everything goes crazy, the whole interface doesn't like it, everything ends up messed up, and it just does not work the way you want. So we're going to do that. We're going to do it with X. So if you're using a different theme, this part probably won't apply to you. It probably won't work for you. There may be a variation of this that will work for you, but you'll have to consult your own theme's documentation to figure out the specific shortcodes that'll let it happen, okay? All right, so first thing, file transfer protocol, right? You will need the following information from your hosting provider. Now, your hosting provider could be anybody, so I can't tell you exactly where to find it. But somewhere in the graphical user interface they give you, whether it's cPanel or whatever, they should be providing you with the following sets of information. And if they did not provide you with this information, then at least if they don't provide you with a graphical user interface like a cPanel, like my hosting doesn't, because it bloats your system. It just bogs down and it bloats. It's basically like bloatware for your website. And why would we want bloatware? I don't know. Then we provide you with documentation that gives you this information flat out, and that's sort of what you should be looking for. So you have your host name, if you will. That's either your IP address. Obviously, this is a dummy IP address, and this doesn't apply to anyone. Is either your IP address, or it could be your domain name, just the way it's typed, like mydomain.com, or it could be something like a subdomain of that, so like ftp.yourdomain.com. Then we have your port, which is 21, and then you have your username and your password that would go with that. Now, if you're using SFTP, and if your hosting provider is any good, they really should be using SFTP anyway. But if they're not, then it's port 21. But if they are using SFTP, a secure version of file transfer protocol, then it will be port 22 instead of port 21. And then your themes are located in WP content/themes, and your plugins are located in WP content/plugins. So let's take a look at what that would look like really quick. I am using FileZilla. So this is FileZilla. It's free. It's by Mozilla, the same people who bring you Firefox and stuff. So you should be able to get this very, very quick. It's open source. It's constantly being developed, updated, all that stuff. So it's pretty good stuff. So I use FileZilla on my Mac. You can use it on your Linux PC or your Windows PC, and you would basically input that information: host, username, password, and port. So right there at the top you can see, and you can just use a quick connect function. Or you can save the settings if you go into this little tiny button up here. At least this is the way it is on a Mac. You can. I'm not going to click it because it's got client-based information in it for me. But you can go in there and save these settings for your future use, so that you can use them kind of whenever you want. And your password will always be masked when you save things. Your password will always be masked, so it won't be like visible with text. All right. So here's the kind of files you'll see when you log in via FTP. Right. You'll see. This is basically your typical WordPress folder that you would normally see. You've got your WP admin folder, content includes, your htaccess file, and then all sorts of other stuff in here that you don't want to necessarily mess with. The only place you really should ever have to worry about editing anything is inside WP content. So let's check that out. We'll go ahead and click that. And you have, I don't know if you'll necessarily have, you won't have this folder unless you've installed W3 Total Cache, which you totally should. Once you're done with your site, you should totally cache it. So you probably won't have these two things. Unless you install that plugin. Same thing with this here, probably, maybe not. But plugins, themes, upgrade, and uploads, you will definitely have these 4 folders. And X should be uploaded to themes. So we'll go ahead and click that. You see I've got a couple of themes kind of already installed in here anyway. And so to install X, what we're going to do is when you the package you downloaded from ThemeForest is right here, X package. We'll double click that. And you'll see that I've got a couple of folders open. We've got these are the files you'll get for the X package. You've got x.zip, which is what you'd use if you're uploading it with the web interface, like in your dashboard. And then you've got the folder for X. These two things are exactly the same. The only difference is that this one's packaged in a zip and this isn't. So I'm going to take this folder right here, and I'm just going to drag it in here. Just like you would normally drag in anything on your computer from one folder to another, I just simply drag it into FileZilla, and my FileZilla is just going to start going to work. And it's just going to start uploading all this stuff to my server so that I can access it on my site later. And now we can do the same thing with X's plugins as well. If I just go ahead and navigate, and I can navigate through here while I'm uploading, it doesn't stop the upload. So I'm going to go through plugins really quick, and you can see the plugins we have installed here. Again, you will probably have different plugins, so don't think that this is like what you should see. Probably the only thing you will see by default is Akismet. You'll probably see this index.php, at least I would hope so, otherwise it's probably not working for you. And if you're importing a site from another domain or another directory or something, you'll probably have WordPress importer. You probably have Hello Dolly and all that other stuff too, but not a big deal. Okay, so the extensions that come with X all the different extensions. If you're familiar with X as a theme, you know that there's a bunch of different extensions they have. Video lock, there's a slide out thing, etc. All those are inside this extensions folder. So you have soliloquy, content doc, terms of service, white label, all that stuff, right? That's all in here, and you can upload that as well. If you're trying to upload these via FTP, you'll need to double-click one of these, or double-click or unpackage it basically, so that you get the folder version, not the zip, right? And then you upload this folder into plugins, okay? If you're uploading it through the WordPress web interface, and that's probably fine for most people, then you'll just upload the zip file instead, okay? Sounds good. So I'm just going to go ahead and move that to the trash because I don't need that. For the basic plugins that come with X, though, because you'll notice Visual Composer is not in here, Revolution Slider is not in here, and the X Shortcodes plugin is not in here. That stuff is located actually right within the theme package itself. So if I go into X, the folder that's right here, I'm going to come down to Framework, and then Plugins. And here we see the 3 plugins that are mostly, for the most part, essential for X. Obviously, Revolution Slider isn't essential, and you don't have to use Visual Composer, but really, it's a big deal, and you probably will want to. But you'll see that you have JS Composer, that's Visual Composer, and it's an X-specific version of Visual Composer. So it's been edited to sort of take advantage of some of X's unique features, and that's what JS Composer is for this inside here. It's an X-specific version. Then we have Revolution Slider and the X Shortcodes plugin. And just like before, if you need to upload them to your directory in here, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for X Shortcodes. Just drag it in. And then I'm going to do that for JS Composer as well. Just drag it in. And there you go. Now you'll notice, you may have noticed, I don't know if you did or not, but you may have noticed that I waited until after this was done uploading the theme before I double-clicked this. I barely waited, but I waited because I told FileZilla to upload X to my themes directory. And this stuff here inside plugins, JS Composer, shortcodes, this is all inside that X folder. So if I unpackage this, this is now is in here twice. Not a huge deal, but it's just extra data. It's just doubling the amount of data that's in this folder. So I waited a little bit until I unpackaged these because I was uploading that folder currently. No, that's just a little tidbit there. I didn't actually plan on talking about that, but it's there. So that is how you would upload via FTP. And this is also how you would update. So if you ever have an X update and let's say it's a testing environment. You don't want to buy a license for a testing environment and have it, verified for your domain and all that stuff. You can upload this way. Just keep downloading it from ThemeForest and upload it this way onto your testing environment, and that allows you to update the theme. Once you push your production site live, you can get your site verified, and then you can do all this updates and stuff through the web browser. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to let that keep going because there's no point in stopping it, I guess. So that is how we do file transfer protocol, okay? So that's done. We did that and we did that section. Now let's look at getting rid of comments on our pages. This is pretty easy. If you're looking to get rid of comments on pages, it's super easy. Let's go ahead and check out our dashboard really quick here. This is the dashboard of this little site I have, this little testing environment site. I'm gonna go to Settings and Discussion. This is where we determine where comments are, right? At the top here, you'll see these 3 checkboxes. Now on your site, if you've never messed with this area, all 3 of these checkboxes are gonna be checked. Okay, now this box is supposed to be for new articles, but I'm finding that it kind of affects pages too sometimes. I don't know why. So it just kind of does. And then we've got allow link notifications from other blogs and attempt to notify any blogs linked to from the article. Personally, my settings look like this. If my site has a blog at all, my settings look like this. I just have this middle one unchecked because this can invite a lot of spam and I don't like that. If your site doesn't have a blog at all, there's no blog, uncheck this box too, and then you're fine. This one is a pretty good one to leave checked, I think, because it notifies other people. It notifies other sites that you link to them, which can potentially, if that other site has this box checked, put a link to your site on their site. So potentially, creates a relationship there. So it's not bad. So that's really simple stuff there. However, this only affects future stuff. It doesn't affect things that are there currently. So let's take a look at pages really quick. Now I've only got one page on here, so I can edit things pretty easily. So let's say I have another page, right? Let's say I get I'm just gonna say demo page, and I'll go ahead and hit publish on this because it doesn't matter. As soon as it saves the draft. Demo page, there it goes. Go back to my page list really quick, and I'm gonna look at both of these pages. Let's say both of these pages have a leave a reply or a comment field below them. I could go in one at a time, do a quick edit, and then hit allow, allow comments is technically clicked. If we are looking at a page that has comments on it, you will see these checkboxes clicked. So if I update this one and update this one, I'll show you what I mean. So this is a page, not a blog post, it's a page. All right, we'll go ahead and view this. And you'll see there's this leave a reply thing below where people can post a comment, right? We don't want that on our pages, so we need to get rid of that. Now this is a WordPress function. You'll notice I'm not using X here. This is just 2013. I'm not using, or 2015, sorry. So this isn't X, this is a WordPress function. So this works for everyone, right? And so if we're looking at, where did it go? I had to hit the back button, yeah. So if I take away this, if I uncheck this, right, and update that, then when I look at that page, there's no comment field, it's gone. And we can do this in bulk as well. If you have multiple pages and you want to do this in bulk, you can just basically click this little box next to title, and it'll check all your pages that are currently visible. Go to bulk actions, edit, and then hit apply. And then you get this bulk edit all these different pages, and what changes do you want to make? You can just hit comments, do not allow, and update. And that'll take care of all your comments that are on your pages if you want to get rid of them, okay? That's pretty simple stuff, it's pretty cool. Okay, so we've done everything up here. Now let's take a look at your automatically generated pages that are within WordPress and talk about X a little bit more specifically now, because this stuff here, this is pretty much for everyone. It's not just for X. Now we're gonna take a look really quick into X specific type stuff, kinda. We're gonna venture into that way just a little bit. So I'm gonna get rid of this plugins thing. Let's take a look at my blog. This is Pryor Media's blog. And you'll notice that I have this heading right here, and then it says, welcome to Pryor Media blog, kick up your feet and stay a while. This last part here, this comes with it. I just liked it, so I kept it. But the Pryor Media blog here, this welcome to the Pryor Media blog, this was changed. And this was changed as well, because a lot of times you'll get le blog on here instead of the blog. To edit this section, you're looking at your customizer, right? So I'm gonna open up the customizer in another tab really quick. And I'm actually gonna just move it kind of over here while it's, yeah, right there, it's fine. And we can edit this section for inside our customizer. This is X's customizer. If you've used X before, you know this is your customizer. If you go down to blog right here, you get to scroll down and you see all your different settings for your blog. But the one thing you don't see is any heading here, right? The blog with the subheadings. And you're probably like, well, shoot, this is my blog section. How do I fix this? Well, it's in a weird spot. I don't know why they put it there, but it is. It is in your stack specific menu, right? So you have your menu where you choose your stack, and then you have the stack specific menu. So if I chose renew, for example, then this would be renew, and this would be renew specific settings, right? Inside your stack specific settings, you have blog options. I don't know why this isn't in the blog section. That's just where they decided to put it. And we have header on and off, and then we have the title and what you want the subtitle to be. And there you go. That's where you can click it for your blog. Pretty cool. Very easy. But that's not the only place we can do it, right? Because our blog probably has different categories, right? I mean, I've got like stories, I've got updates, I've got like marketing stuff, probably. I got some tutorials, promotions, etc. So I want to make sure that my categories look good too. So if somebody was to say, click updates, right? They clicked my updates category, they would see something that looks like this. And they would see, you know, all the different stuff related to the updates of my blog. But for most of you out there, you probably see category archive right here, right? And you're like, how do I change category archive? Oh my gosh. Well, that's what I'm gonna show you. If you're looking at the category archive right now, if you're looking at the archive on your blog that shows all this posts from one category and you see category archive at the top of your page, just move your mouse to the top where your admin bar is, up here, your admin bar, and hit edit category. Okay, there's an edit, just like edit page, edit post, there's an edit category button. So let's click that and you'll see exactly where you can do it. Once you get there, then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I can see where I am there. So here we have the name of the category, which is how it appears to me in my admin. We have the slug, which is the URL, the URL friendly version of the name, which is what people would go to, like /category/updates, for example. And we have all this, category specific information that's here. And then X adds 2 new parts here. Now, maybe only 1 new part, depending on the stack. If you have renew, I think it's just the title. I don't think you get a subtitle. I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I don't remember that part. But you get extra stuff down here. An archive title and archive subtitle, if it's applicable, is what you're looking for. So just change this and change this. By default, these are blank, and when you leave them blank, you'll get the default title for the archive page. So if you add stuff here, this will overwrite it. Pretty nice. So then you can get things like, say, your portfolio, where my portfolio is here, right? And I can sort through the different stuff I have in my portfolio, video stuff, product reviews, my web series stuff that I made, different websites, e-learning tutorials, all that stuff. I can get through all that stuff, but if I want to look at only one specific sort, which I don't have it in my menu, and I probably could, I can go to a page that will show only a specific part of the menu. So in a portfolio category, for example, I would see only the websites that were made. And you can see that instead of saying portfolio archive or category archive again, it now says website portfolio. Here are some of the websites ideas we have brought to life because I changed this. I went to edit portfolio category, right? And I changed this to be here. Archive title, archive subtitle. And that's how you can get those values on your archive pages. Huh? That's pretty slick, and you can do that for all your categories. So where do I find all my categories, right? Where do I find them all? Well, you'll notice that for blog and for portfolio, you'll notice you have categories and tags right here, right? Inside this menu. Portfolio also has tags and categories. If you click one, like I'm just gonna click portfolio categories, for example, you get a list of all your current categories that you have on your site. And you can edit them. Right? You can do a quick edit to just change the slug or the name if you want. But if you could do a full edit, if you click the edit button, then you get brought to that familiar screen that I just showed you, where you get the option to have a description for it if you want, change the archive title, and change the archive subtitle. And you may have noticed, and apparently I haven't done this for e-learning tutorials, I should probably get on that. You may have noticed that there's also a Yoast SEO settings area on each one of these too. So if you're using Yoast, if you're using SEO, WordPress SEO by Yoast, there it is, then you get some settings in there for that too. And you can sort of mess with your SEO that way. Okay? Pretty cool. I think that pretty much covers that pretty well. If you have additional questions on that, write to ThemeCo and let them know. Talk to the developers directly. I don't do support over YouTube. Not really. I mean, every now and then, if it's a really super easy thing, I'll probably type a couple of words to you. But free support, you should go to the developers directly. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to my list here. We got that done. Now we're going to head into Visual Composer. I know this is a long video, but I think it's worth a lot of information, and I think you guys will like it. So, Visual Composer, most asked about section about X in my consultation program that I have. Which, by the way, if you're interested in learning more about shameless self-promotion, if you visit pryormedia.net, go to services, and then web consultation is right here, website consultation. It'll show you a bunch of information about how you can, get some consulting from me and some personalized training and get yourself more familiar with this theme so that you can be more productive. Time is money. I want to save you both. Okay, there you go. Same as shameless self-promotion, back to the free teaching, okay? We're going to look at some of the X-specific functions, and we're going to start with visibility containers, creating responsive text, and then we're going to look at the 5-column layout with Visual Composer, okay? So let's get rid of some of these tabs because I don't need them all. This will work. Okay, so This is my home page. So when I go back to my home page here at Pryor Media, what you're actually seeing is all this stuff here. This is my Visual Composer layout for my homepage right here, right? So website design, video production, etc. That's all right here. Website design, video production, all that stuff. But you'll notice that I have website design, for example. We'll just look at this top part here because I think this really illustrates visibility containers really well. We have website design, we have the subtext underneath it, the text underneath it, and then we have the image to the right. This is very similar, it's almost identical really to the Integrity 1 demo that ThemeCo has. I modeled this after that. When the theme first came out, I modeled it after that. So standard responsive design, how website design works, right? Responsive layouts, if it's on the left, everything on the left is more important or superior to everything that's on the right. So when you make your browser smaller for mobile, the things that were on the left go on top of the things that are on the right. Okay? So notice website design, text, image, right? Website design, text, image. This stuff is on the left. It goes on top of the thing that's on the right. Okay? There you go. However, it doesn't do that here. Notice, image on the left, video production, text. If I scroll like this though, it's still consistent. Despite the image being on the left here, let me scroll back over. Despite the image being on the left and not being the same as these two columns or these two rows, right? Left, then right, left, then right. But this one, it's an image first on the left. Yet when I make it responsive, it still acts exactly the same. That's a cool little feature found in X called a visibility container. So let's check out how that works. So here on the site, here on my homepage, and if you ever imported the Integrity 1 demo content or anything like that, you will get a very similar thing. You'll see these little eyeballs, these little containers here. This says visibility, right? And these tiny little, if I can get Safari to act right, you can see a little eyeball. This is a container, and it's a visibility container because you can tell because it has this eyeball. If it was a standard container or like some other normal container, it wouldn't have an eyeball. Instead, it would have, if I can find one that I've used here, it will have one of these little arrows and stuff, right? It's just a regular standard old container. What you're looking for is the one with the eyeball, right? The visibility container. And what this does is it allows you to dictate what content shows up on what device. So everything I put inside this container, for example, is only visible to desktops and tablets. Mobile phones cannot see this. But this container here is only visible to phones. Desktop computers and tablets cannot see this. So what happens here is I have my desktop site seeing website design on the left and image on the right as such. Then when I make my browser narrower for mobile, right there, X switches gears and says, okay, that's a mobile phone. And so now the part where my content, I have to scroll out in order to see it. Maybe I can just do this in a different tab. Different window, I mean. Let's do that. It's probably be way easier to do that. So now, instead of my browser seeing the desktop content, right, that I made here, it's now seeing only the mobile content, which has website design and image on the top, right? So what's happening on this the second part here, where it actually matters, is that I've got the image on the left, the text on the right, which is right here, video production, image on the left, text on the right, but it gets hidden on a mobile phone so that this image doesn't end up on top of the video production, right? This gets hidden. And thus, this part, which is only visible on phones, gets shown instead. And I've got this ordered in the way I want it. So it ends up working out fantastico, right? So how does that work? I see, I know what it does, Charlie, thanks, but how do I make it work? Okay. So each container you add, everything you add in Visual Composer has its own little settings panel that you can play around with, right? And as a general rule, the plus sign means add something. Add a new element, add a row, add a content band, add a container, whatever. Add something. The pencil icon means edit something. Edit what already exists, right? And then we have this little icon here, which is like 2 little pages. And this means basically duplicate or clone, which means take this and make a duplicate of it. Pretty self-explanatory. And I think we all know what a trash can means. So I'll just leave you to that. And essentially what we're doing is in this container, you'll notice that there's also pencils because we've added it. Everything you add has a pencil. Everything you add has a way to edit it. So I'm going to edit this container. And when you add a visibility container, you'll see that you have this option at the top. A regular container just has ID, class, and style. That's all it has. It doesn't have this part. A visibility container, however, acts differently, is treated differently, and thus has this part here. So the top, I have hidden phone, which means it will be visible to tablets and desktops, but it will be hidden on the phone. And that's fine. If I wanted to hide it on a desktop only, I could do that here, and then it would only show up on tablets and phones, but not desktops. If I want to, so that's the way to hide it from one and show it on two. Say hide from one, show it on two. That's how these top 3 works. The bottom 3 work the opposite way. Show it on one, hide it from 2. And so the second container I have, this one says hidden phone, which is the desktop and tablet part. This one says visible phone. As soon as it loads, there it goes. Visible phone. Only visible on phones. So everything I put inside this container is only visible on a phone. And thus, it's really easy to build my mobile version of my site because I don't need multiple columns, right? It's all one column anyway. See? One column, just straight down. Just keep going, one column all the way down the page. So building my mobile site is really easy. And when you combine that with a workflow that takes advantage of the cloning tools, then you really get into something special, right? So like, for example, if I wanted to clone this, let's say, oh shoot, let's just delete this part. I'm gonna delete the mobile site right here, right? Delete my mobile version. So right now, this is my live site, by the way. Right now, I've got website design and image, and then I've got image and video production. So if I was to hit update, and I'm not going to because it is my live business site, but if I was to hit update, this part here would show up just fine, just the way it is. But on a mobile phone, you would not see these 2 sections. They're gone because this is hidden on phone, right? So let's make a part that's visible on the phone and that looks the way we want. And you're gonna be like, wow, that's it? That's all I have to do? And yeah, it really is that easy. Ready? Here we go. Duplicate or clone the row. Boom. Come on, boom. My booms are off, off time. Okay, there it is. Made a complete duplicate, right? Completely the same here and here. Now I'm gonna edit the settings on the visibility container so that instead of being hidden phone, it's visible phone. Okay. And now we're gonna look at making it just the way we want, in the order we want. Now this will be easy because it's already kind of in the right order. I'm just going to take this column here. You'll notice there's this little setting here where you can adjust how many columns something has. Content bands and rows have the same thing. And in case you didn't know it already, this is actually a container, and then the content band has been added inside the container, right? So actually it's a little bit like this. There's the container. I'll just add it from scratch. So I'll show you. And rather than cloning, I'll just add it from scratch. So I've got my row made. I'm going to click the plus sign, add something new. Find visibility. Where is it? Where is it? It's here somewhere. There it is. Visibility. Alter content based on screen size. So click that. Gives me the option. I'm going to say I want it to be visible on the phone. And that means hidden on everything else. Okay? Now inside that, I'm going to put a content band. There's a lot of very good reasons to do that. I'm not going to get into it because it's lengthy, but I really heavily recommend you put content bands inside your containers whenever you can. It will make editing much easier if you are not yet sure of the finalized view. If you're sure of your finalized view, then go ahead and do it without this. But if you ever want to edit things later, it's going to make it way easier if you have a content band inside your container, okay? Now that being said, you cannot do like infinite inception or in this way, right? You can do row, container, content band. You can't put another container inside this one and then put another content band inside that one, okay? You can't do that. So this is like the extent where you can do row, container, content band, or row, content band, and container inside that. But you can only have one of each is what I'm trying to tell you, okay? There you go, a little tidbit. Otherwise, you're gonna notice things messing up pretty big. Okay, so I've got all that, and then inside this, because this is visible phone, I'm going to put all this stuff in here in the order I want it. Pretty easy to do. I don't even have to make new elements because I've made a content band, and this is something you can't do if you didn't put a content band inside the container. I can just simply duplicate. I'll just clone this, drag this in. It's a little finicky sometimes. Just be patient with it. Image, drag it in. Done. Piece of cake. That's all it takes. My mobile site is done. And I didn't have to do any work. I mean, it's really just a couple of clicks and it's in there. And it's even easier if you do the cloning thing like I had before, right? So if I delete this, if I just clone this row like I had before, all I'd have to do then is just make this one column. Done. And then get rid of the gap because I don't need the gap on my mobile phone. So boom, done. All right, super easy. So you can do a lot of creative things with visibility containers that, I mean, really just, you can hide whole sections. You can create calls to action that only show up on a desktop. Or you can create a call to action that's for the desktop where it targets people on your computer. And then maybe you have a mobile app that you'd rather people download. So you can put like a section for your mobile app in a visibility container that's only visible on phones, and then link that button, which is only visible on phones, to the App Store. You know, like stuff like that is super possible, and it's super easy to do because of visibility containers, okay? Awesome stuff. All right, so that's visibility containers. I really hope you guys take advantage of that and use it. We're gonna talk about responsive text really quick because it's this video is getting super long, and I apologize for that because I wanted to cover a lot of stuff. I don't get to make videos very often, so I gotta cover a lot of stuff when I do. We're gonna look at responsive text. So here's responsive text. Now, you're going to notice, like, why is it all at the bottom? When I see responsive text, I think I'm going to be able to put text in there and it's going to be responsive. Makes sense. Except this is not meant for typing. This tool, responsive text, when you look at it in Visual Composer, right? If you hit plus sign on your stuff and you look at this and you see, where is it? Responsive text. I don't want to do the search function. I want to find it in here. Okay, responsive text is right here. When you see that, include responsive text in your content, you think to yourself, okay, yeah, I'm going to just type some content, and that's fine. But you'll notice the icon, it's like a setting for text. It's not actually text. It's like formatting text. And that's what we're trying to do with this element. In a nutshell, really quick, without getting super technical about it, what you're doing here is you're creating an on-the-fly, on this page only, a CSS class that affects your text. You're creating a specific style for text, and then you're going to apply that to something else. Now, to give you a visualization of how powerful this is, this text here that you see here is just standard paragraph text. This text, as it's typed, is no different than like this text, right? See these two bits of text? This is all on the same screen, so it actually works better. See this text here and this text here? In my editor, it is identical. There's no styling changes at all made to this text element compared to this text element. The only differences between this is that the content band or the container that's holding this right here has one of these responsive text selectors added to it. All right, so let me show you how that works. What you're gonna do is you're gonna create a responsive text just like this. I'm gonna use the ones that are already made. You place a selector that you want. Now for this, I know this is gonna be for my headings. So I just have a habit of doing a very similar thing. Theme Code kind of does this automatically in their little demo content. So I just sort of adopted the same thing because I got used to it. This is responsive, RESP, dash, and this is for my headings. So this is not for my paragraphs, it's for my headings. If I look at, whoops, don't want to do that. Well, I'm not going to save the changes to this page anyway, so whatever. If I look at this, I'll see RESP-H-timeline, okay? These are all different selectors. You can put whatever you want in here, right? I could put .awesome, and that would be fine. It'd be a totally fine selector to have, okay? You just have to start with a dot, so make sure you start this with a dot. So then we've got compression. It's a relative thing, but basically this is the speed at which things adjust themselves. They can either adjust themselves slowly or quickly. If you make the compression too slow, it may not get quite to the size that you need it to go to be, you know, to work the way you want it to. If you make it too big, it might get there too quickly. So it's kind of like a range. You just figure out what works and play around with it. I sometimes will do like 2.3. You can do 1.8. This is 0.85. You can do 5 if that's super quick, but you can do 5, up to you. Then you have a minimum size and a maximum size. Pretty self-explanatory. The biggest the text can get is this big. The smallest the text can get is this big, okay? And now what does that do, right? How does that actually affect things? Well, I've got a page set up right here that's gonna sort of demonstrate how this responsive text thing works. So if I take a look at this page, we'll see that we have spectacularly large headline, right? This is just one page on the site, and it's just, all this is just one headline added in a row. The spectacularly large headline here, okay? So if I resize this, you can see that it does that. Not a big deal, right? Responsive text does not mean that the text reassigns the line that it's on, right? You see how large kind of kicks itself down? That's not what we mean by responsive text. This is just text conforming to its container. No big deal. It's standard. You could just type in a regular HTML document and your text is going to do this, no problem. What we mean by responsive text is that the size of the text changes. Not where the text is located on a line, but the size of the text will change to conform. So let me give you an example of why that would be useful. Let's say that you had a really long word. I don't know what word that would be, but let's say I had a really long word. So instead of spectacularly large headline here, let's say it's super spectacularliness. Large headline here. Super spectacularliness. I don't know. That's not a word yet. It's going to be a word, and if I see anyone using that word, I'll sue you. I don't know. Super spectacularliness, large headline here. Obviously, it's kind of absurd, but it'll sort of illustrate the point I'm trying to make of why you might need something like this. So super spectacularliness, large headline here. Now we've seen how text will reassign itself to a new line, right? It'll kick itself down and sort of justify itself. I don't know, whatever verb you want to use. But when a word is this long, it can't do that because it's a big word. So what's going to happen here is if I move the page in, see how the text comes outside the container? It's kind of coming out of that white box a little bit. We don't want that, ever. Never want that. And then, even worse, on a mobile phone, the word gets cut off. It comes off the page. Well, that's not good. Now, you might want to consider changing the word, especially if your word is super spectacularliness. But if, for whatever reason, you can't change the word, maybe you have a really long last name, I don't know. Or maybe you want this text to appear larger than this, and you don't know how to resize it, and you don't want to do visibility containers to make it a different size, which is an option, by the way. You can just put the big headline in one for the desktop and put a smaller version of this in a mobile phone. That's possible too. But a more elegant way to do it is to have the text resize itself as you resize the browser. So let's try that. We've got the custom headline here, super spectacularliness, large headline. In another row, another content band, and I'm going to make sure there's no margin on this content band because I don't want extra space. So I'm just going to do that really quick. I'm going to add responsive text, okay? And we're going to call this, I'm just going to call this .super, okay? Again, you can make it whatever you want, so I'm going to call it .super. Compression. Let's make this, we'll just leave it at 1.0 for now so we can see how fast that does. I have a feeling that's not fast enough, but we'll see what that's like. Minimum size. Let's do, again, it's a trial and error thing. Let's do 30 pixels. The maximum size we'll make it is 50 pixels. I don't know. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and update this. And you'll notice that nothing will change, all right? I want to show you that you have to do step 2. Step 1 is making that, but step 2 is assigning it to where that is. All right, so nothing changes. All right. So the second part is we have the responsive text, we have the selector made, and we've set the attributes for it. Now we have to take this selector and apply it to our headline. So this is just .super. When you create the responsive text, you need to have the dot. Okay, the dot is there. And then when you do this headline part, you need to do it with, you don't have to use the dot. So I'm going to do the pencil right here. Super spectacular in this large headline. And then at the bottom, you'll see ID, class, and style. These are on most elements that you have except for content bands. I mean, content bands have class and style, but they don't have ID. So for class and style, these are CSS traits. You can add them in. And this responsive text element we just had is a CSS class. It's only going to apply to this page. So I'm going to type super right here. Not dot super, just super. All right. Now I've made it, and I've applied it to be connected to this one right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and update this, and we'll see if this changes at all. Again, it's just trial and error, so I don't know how big or small it's going to be. Super spectacular in this large headline. And here we go. Okay, it's a little smaller. This is 50 pixels, so it's a little smaller. But what I want to show you is that as I size this, see how the text resizes itself? Rather than staying big like this and being pushed off the page, it gets smaller with the page, right? So I'm going to show you how absurd you can really make this if you wanted to. We don't need to edit the text anymore. We've already applied the style to it. We don't need to edit the custom headline. Now we just have to edit the responsive text if we want to change the size. So we'll go back to responsive text. I have super. I'm going to change the compression to something much faster because I'm going to do kind of absurd here. I'm going to leave 30 pixels the way it is, but maximum size, I'm going to make this 90 pixels. I don't think this is going to compress fast enough, but we'll see. All right, let's refresh this page and see how large this text is now. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Did I do 9 instead of 90? That's interesting. Maybe my browser's caching it. Or maybe it just can't go that big. It could be that. It could be the compression's way too fast. Let's leave it at 1. We'll leave it at 1.0, see what happens. Maybe it's just compressed already. It's like, I don't want to do it. Maybe I can't compress it that fast. There it goes. That's what it was supposed to be. I compressed it too fast, whatever. Okay, super spectacular in this large headline. Obviously, with text this big, there's no way it would fit on a mobile phone. But if I resize, notice how the text just gets smaller to conform to the container, right? So that's how we use responsive text. It is super powerful. You can do a lot of cool things with it. And that's how stuff on my homepage here is done, right? I just have a minimum and a maximum, and my minimum is just, bigger than this. So the minimum can get is this. So as I scroll it, it just tends to conform itself where it needs to go, right? Okay. So now, the final bit here, the grand finale, and probably the part that some of you probably clicked this video for, is the 5-column layout with Visual Composer. Now, as you know, and maybe you don't, so I'll show you, you can't do 5 columns in Visual Composer, right? You've got, if I delete this, I don't even need to delete this stuff, I'll just show it. I'll make a new content band, and I'll say I want this to be 5 columns. But look, if I scroll over here, you'll see we got 1 column, we've got 2 by 2, 3 by 3, or no, 2 by 2, 1/3 by 1/3 by 1/3, right? We've got it in 4 columns, and then we've got 6 columns, but there's no 5. If you go custom and you try to make 5 columns, so I'm going to go to 6, for example, and then I try to make 5 columns. So I delete this one, and then I change this to a 5, and then I change this one to a 5. So I do 1 by 5, 5 times, right? Or 1/5 plus times 5. I hit update. You can't do it. It won't let you do it, right? It just doesn't let you do it. So, and if you try to do it inside another one, like if I go, container, and then I put it inside another one here, content band, I say I want by 1/4, I say custom, and then I just say I want to add a 1/5, again, and do one of these numbers. It just won't let you do it. So you're like, man, I just want a 1/5 column. Why can't I do that? It just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to show you how to do 5 columns, right? Now it's kind of cheating, but if it works, right? And to prove that it works, I've got my 5 column test right here. All right, placeholder, 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 placeholder. These are all 5 columns in a row. So let's take a look at this page I've got set up for 5 columns, and we'll take a look at how it's done. It's kind of cheating, and you're going to be like, oh, duh, but it's not really super cheating, all right? All right, now you're going to look at this and go, well, that doesn't look like a 5 column layout, but it is. How you have to do it is you have to use a combination of X shortcodes and Visual Composer. And this is a good lesson that kind of gets you involved with knowing X's shortcodes as well. So look at the documentation, look at the knowledge base, learn the shortcodes that come with this plugin or that come with this theme. You can use them mix and match, but if you're going to use X's shortcodes that are not Visual Composer based, you have to do it inside a text element, okay? Just like you would do if you weren't using Visual Composer, right? So what I've done here, and you can see it here, we've got a Visual Composer. What I've done here is I've created a 5 column layout with X shortcodes and then put that inside Visual Composer. All right. So let's show you, I'll show you down here. Make a new content band, and I'm going to, let's just copy this headline. I'll drag it down so we can see. I'm going to change this to 5 column. Here we go. Super 5 column. There we go. We'll keep the super going. All right. Super 5 column. So inside a text box, I'm going to use extra shortcodes. Now, conveniently enough, Themeco has this little button here on all your text boxes have this little button that says X shortcodes. If you click this, you get to generate a shortcode from this tool. So I'm going to go to column structure, and then I can choose how much space I want the column to fill. So I want the column to fill 1/5, okay? That's the key right there, 1/5. You can do 2/5, 3/5, or 4/5 as well, but I want 1/5. Okay, and you can choose fade effects and all that stuff if you want to, but that's the important part. I'm going to insert the shortcode, and you get column type equals 1/5, okay? And then put whatever you want inside this column. So for this, I'm just going to click, because this is the end of the shortcode, right? You got the shortcode, and then you got the ending of the shortcode. You can see it by that /. So in between the shortcode here, I can just do this for more illustrative purposes. I need to put whatever I want in here. So I can put text, I can put the images like I did here, whatever. I put that inside here. So I'll just do that, add media. And of course, my site will take right now is an appropriate time to be slow. Awesome. This is so uncharacteristically slow. There we go. All right, I'm going to add this to the page. Doesn't matter how big it is because it's just an example. And now what I can do, if I want to make more, just like this, and then, flippy floppy and replace, I can just highlight this whole thing, copy it, and then just paste, 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 paste. And I get 5 columns worth of stuff, right? It's super easy. Hit save changes, and there you go. Now I didn't do it quite so spaced out in my first example here. I sort of just have them kind of cluttered together on the same line, which is why it sort of looks like this instead. But it's all the same idea. Column 1/5, and then it ends, and then a new column begins. I didn't space it out with a space, is what I'm saying. Or I didn't hit enter. But there it is. That's how you do it. That'll give you a 5 column layout. Perfect for anyone who wants a 5 column layout. And the same rules apply. You can do responsive text to them. You can do, you can put things on top of each other, format it left to right, justified, centered, whatever you want. You can put it inside visibility containers. You can do whatever you want. It's just using shortcodes inside a text element is going to let you create the layout that you want. So if I go ahead and view the page, we should see pretty much the same thing. Well, with the exception that one is going to fly to the end of the page, which will give me another opportunity to show you that. So here you go, 5 column test. There you go, super 5 column. Now because I hit enter, right, that's actually a good point. Because I hit enter on that stuff, it's going to keep hitting enter on every single column. So actually I can't, you can't do it by hitting enter. You can't, you have to put them on the same line. And you'll notice that this stuff is all the way to the edge of the browser. So brings me to another point. I might as well do that while I'm here because it's super quick and easy. I'm gonna edit this really quick just so it looks good. And we're gonna have to bring this back so there's not a space here. So just bring this, probably just do, well, you get it. I mean, I could remove all the enters here, but that's just adding more to the video, so I'm not gonna do that. But the one thing you'll also notice from that page is that the content was slamming against the side of the browser, okay? So if you ever notice your content's doing that, see that is how it slams against the side of the browser. If you ever notice your content's doing that, you need to make sure that the inner container is selected for that row, okay? So row settings, content band settings, whatever you want to call it, and then there'll be a checkbox right here that says inner container. Just make sure that's checked. So there you go, guys. Sorry the video took so long. You guys have been super patient with me. Appreciate it. And that's all my most commonly asked things. If you like the video, I know it's long, but if you like the video, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know some other things that you might like to have a video made. I can't promise I'll make a video on that stuff because I'm a super busy guy right now, especially with all you guys wanting work, and that's great. I'll work for you, that's fine. It might give me ideas for videos that might be needed in the future. And if you have a problem that I don't know how to fix, it might give me something to research. All right. So thank you very much for watching. This is Charlie from PryarMedia.net signing off. I don't think I've ever said that at the end of a video, but I'm going to now. This is Charlie signing off.